Next game we will talk about is the team behind me on the shirt that I'm wearing. The Texas Longhorns play Kentucky. Kentucky is getting 20.5 points here. Not too surprising because when we talk about bad offenses, this takes it to a whole nother level. This is probably it's the worst offense in the SEC. I think it's Kentucky and then Oklahoma offensively. Kentucky 19 points per game, 116th in the country. Yards per play, 4.8, 113th in the country. Yards per rush, 3.9, 88th in the country. Yards per pass, 6.6, 101st in the country. A sack rate given up of 9.09%, 115th in the country. And that's with a mobile quarterback. So that's pretty bad from the offensive line from Kentucky. 20.8 points per game, 26th in the country. 5.5 yards per play, 69th in the country given up. 4.0 yards per rush given up, 43rd in the country. 8.5 yards per pass, 117th in the country given up. And a sack rate of 9.46%, 9th in the country. For Texas, offensively, 37 points per game, 11th in the country. 6.3 yards per play, 22nd in the country. 4.6 yards per rush, 49th in the country. 8.4 yards per pass, 14th in the country, and a sack percentage given up of 5.51%. That's 56th in the country. And then we talk about I think it's either the best or second best defenses in the country. They're highly rated in all categories. 11.9 points per game, 4th in the country. 3.8 yards per play, 1st in the country. 3.3 yards per rush, 14th in the country. 4.8 yards per pass, 1st in the country. And a sack rate of 8.01%, 24th in the country. Tyler, how do you see this game playing out?
Yeah, I mean, Kentucky's just bad. They're just really bad offensively. Defensively, they're okay. They're just not what Kentucky has been, which is consistently in that top 20. I wouldn't put them in the top 20 this year. They're just not a good team. They had their fluke, miracle win against Ole Miss, and they have nothing else to really show for it since then. They just played, Murray State, beat them. Yeah. Easily. Murray State's one of the worst FCS teams. Let's just be real here. But I think Jamarian Wilcox, true freshman running back, that's maybe a promising look for Kentucky. Even Chip Trainum played in this game, I do believe. So if their offensive line can block and get this run offense kind of going, they'll have a shot to make it close. I don't think they have a chance to win the game. Again, it's going to take the Ole Miss effort and then probably times 5 or 10. With how Texas, though, with how Texas has been playing, with exceptional against the Florida game, the first half in every SEC game, Texas kind of comes out snoozing. Again, with the exception of the Florida game, and you were up 42-0 at half or some ridiculous thing like that. But every other game has kind of been relatively close in the first half. And then even into last week, into the fourth quarter, this was a good game against Arkansas. So, and what is really the issue? Well, Texas's offense has an efficiency. I really do believe it's some type of efficiency issue. And with Quinn, I don't know if he's 100% healthy. In fact, I don't even think he's 70% healthy. Something's holding Texas's offense back. And for me, I like to blame the rush offense, but it looks like the rush is starting to get slightly better. You were able to run the football in Florida. I think late into the Arkansas game, you found running lanes. So I don't know. Texas's offense just isn't as good as what we thought it would be, but I think Texas is going to win this game. Quinn Ewers is going to have to turn the ball over 3 times if Kentucky wants to win this game on the road. It's senior night. Give me Texas. I do think Kentucky could potentially cover, but I'm not going to go with it. I think Texas wins this game 30-6, and I love the under though.
Yeah, I feel basically the same way about Texas offense. I think it's a combination of multiple things. I think it's a little bit of Quinn Ewers' health. I think it's a little bit of confidence in the pocket because I will say the offensive line has played much better the last 2 weeks compared to that. Honestly, other than the Georgia game, they played pretty well. So I think his confidence kind of went down from that game. And then, the rushing offense has not been great. I will say the last 2 weeks, though, Jaden Blue has looked much better. He's averaging 7.5 yards per carry the last 2 weeks. So that is a big positive. The problem is he fumbles way too much. And we saw that in the Arkansas game as well. He gets punched out from behind. Luckily, he goes out of bounds. But I will say this Texas defense has surpassed my expectations. I think there's a case to be made that their secondary is the best in the country. I mean, Jahdae Barron's playing out of his mind right now. He's going to win the Thorpe Award. Malik Muhammad's playing really good too, and he doesn't even get talked about. And then Michael Taft goes from walk-on to a guy that has a legit chance. I think he'll stay this year, but next year we're talking about his third, fourth-round draft pick. He's playing really well back there as well. Andrew Makuba's playing well. And then Colin Simmons, I thought, was starting to go through that freshman lull. And then he comes out and has 2 sacks versus Arkansas. So, yeah, their defense is phenomenal. And I completely agree. The only way for Texas to even, be close at the end of the day is Quinn Ewers is going to have to absolutely play terrible. It's going to have to be 3 to 4 turnovers. And even then, Kentucky cannot move the ball. If he's throwing interceptions in the red zone, they're still going to have to go 60 yards to get a field goal or a touchdown. So unless we turn the ball on our side of the field, I don't really see a path for Kentucky to win this football game. I think the defense is going to actually put up some points in this game for us. I think they're probably going to score a touchdown off a defensive interception or fumble, and I think they're probably going to set us up for another one. So I do have us scoring 41 points, but 10 to 14 of those are purely because I believe in the defense, and they're going to put up some points in this game. So I'm going to take us to win 41-10. If that doesn't happen, let's say we don't have any turnovers, just no turnovers on either side, then I'm looking at a 28-10 type game. But I think it's going to be 41-10 Texas, and they're just playing an anemic offense. Barry and Brown, this was crazy when I looked it up yesterday when I was doing the preview on the Texas channel. He has 26 catches on the year. This is a guy he's probably the best wide receiver to come through Kentucky since Randall Cobb, and you're just not giving the ball whatsoever. So it doesn't make any sense to me. Dane Key is playing pretty well, I will say that, but they don't have many weapons. And then the weapons that they do have, they're not utilizing it. It's because they missed out on the quarterback. Brock Vandergriff has not been good. You paid him $1 million to $1.5 million, and it's kind of like the Florida State situation where DJ, gets paid all that money, and then you have to play him, and he hasn't playing well either. So I don't know what they're going to do offensively, but I think Texas handles this game pretty easily.
Yeah, and I agree. Now, one thing I do want to say is Vegas has Kentucky. Their over-under total points is 13.5. I believe it's plus 100 if you go with the over. So if you're a betting man and you think Kentucky can somehow, some way get 14 points, shout out to you. Listen, I don't think it's going to happen. Their offense is so bad that even if the worst happens for Texas's offense, in which they do turn the ball over, or Kentucky's able to get a special teams blender, they still might not score 14. So I like Texas. I think they'll kind of snooze early on and then kick it on late. That's kind of how they've been playing thus far.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you do take that bet and you take the over, you want Texas to come out like they did versus Florida, because then we put in our third and fourth stringers, then Kentucky can go and score those 14 points. But if this game's 21-3 at halftime, they're not going to pull their starters. They're going to keep them in. So you're rooting for Texas to go up 35-0 at halftime like they did versus Florida if you take that. That's really – I agree. I think that's the only way Kentucky can score. But we'll see what happens.